Welcome back to another Films of IRS Media review. Today, yet again, we have the incredible, edible Josh Spaninga with us.
Thank you. Thank you for that very accurate introduction. I appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome, of course. Uh, so we're back again to review yet another IRS Media film. So, as always, we are going in the order of release, whether it was released on video or, went into theaters, which none of these movies really had a big theatrical release. But basically, IRS Media is an offshoot of IRS Records, which stood for International Record Syndicate, a record company that was started by Miles A. Copeland III, brother to Stuart Copeland, the drummer of the Police. He started an offshoot of IRS Records. IRS Records, of course, produced bands like the Go-Go's, The Damned, REM, a lot of well-known bands. He made tons of money in the 80s and decided to start making films in the late 80s, early 90s. To not a lot of success. Not a lot of these films were well regarded. One has just made it to the Criterion Collection, and that is One False Move. But this one, today, we are talking about a very special addition to the IRS film collection, and that is this film right here, Guilty as Charged. Directed by Sam Irwin. This is an insane film, and we got a lot to say. Even so, the video itself isn't quite sure what kind of movie it is, because down here it says it's a comedy, and then on the side it says action adventure. So I don't know if either of those are correct. I don't know what category I would put this in.
It's also kind of a thriller.
Listen, why don't you shut up,
bastard?
I know when I read the Wikipedia on this, it said that it was initially supposed to be a much more serious film, and then when IRS took... So it sounds like it was already in production before IRS took it over.
Yeah, something like that.
Because it said that IRS Media was the one, like they were the ones who requested that it be more of a comedy. So yeah, there's a lot of it's very serious and dark, and then there's just random cheesy jokes thrown in that didn't really land for me, but they also, oddly enough, just made for such a weird mood that it kind of worked for me. It made it interesting.
Praise the Lord.
Now this man is a sinner.
For, with the simple misuse of a vegetable slicer, he committed unspeakable acts.
The movie opens up, incredible, big, powerful score. Very close to, I would say, like a Danny Elfman score to like Batman or Darkman. It's such a big score, and so you're locked in. At least I was when the movie opens up, and it goes to this guy in a truck, and he's talking about how he's clearly from, Water and Power. He's talking about how they keep getting these power surges, specifically at this time.
I've checked everything out, and I just don't know what's causing those power surges.
Had any tonight?
No, I told you, they always come exactly at midnight, which should be just about Now.
And then we get to go down into this kind of subterranean basement where we are shown the man himself, Rod Steiger, playing Ben Kalin, the owner of a meatpacking plant, but also the owner of his own personal death row, where he is executing people, men mainly, executing men who have escaped justice, who he has kidnapped and is keeping in his own personal prison.
This poor lamb departed at 12:01 and 3 seconds.
So I do want to make a distinction that it's all murderers. He
Yeah.
specifically only goes after murderers, but yeah, he has his own little like mom and pop vigilante death row in his basement. He thinks that, I mean, later in the film he kind of explains this. If it's okay, I'll just explain it now.
Yeah.
His family was brutally murdered by a man who was recently, I believe he was just released from prison.
Yep.
He was in there for murder, only spent like 3 years or something like that in prison, and then murdered his family. So then the guy ended up getting struck by lightning and got killed, and then Callan saw that as a sign that
A sign from God.
a sign from God of righteous justice, and then he decided that he would make his own electric chair to then harness that power of lightning or electricity and bring his own justice that was, God gave him the right to do. And that's what I got from it is, he was trying to be as righteous as he could in his brutal, I mean, he's basically murdering people.
He's also reaching out to the victims of these murderers, or the people that are left behind. He's finding the families. He's finding, at least for a few of the people that we see who are electrocuted.
Now, please, along with me, if you would, let us pray.
What did he say? Have a nice day?
No, Grandpa. Pray. Let us pray.
Oh, my.
Rod Steiger, who plays Ben Kalin, incredible performance.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't a moment where I didn't believe it. There wasn't a moment where I was like, oh, he's phoning it in. This is just a paycheck for him. I was like really taken aback.
Wonderful, wonderful performance. Horrible, horrible haircut.
Oh my God.
God be with you, and may he shower his blessings upon you.
Rod Steiger, I think, has been bald for a while, but they decided to give him a hairpiece that's like a white crew cut flat top, basically. Mm-hmm. And it is, for me personally, it was so hard to look at. Just because it kind of came down a little bit too far on his forehead. And some people were just meant to be bald.
Mm-hmm.
I truly believe that. And I think some people just look better bald. Like, I love a good bald man. Speaking of, one of his prisoners, one of the longtime prisoners, was Mitch Pileggi, who played Skinner in the X-Files. He is an incredibly handsome bald man. And can you imagine Mitch Pileggi with a head of hair?
You're a lunatic, you fucking maniac, you! You don't want to be locked up!
No.
No!
Nor Isaac Hayes.
No, not even, definitely not Isaac Hayes.
Who is also in this film.
Yes, Isaac Hayes, who plays Aloysius.
What are you doing?
We like to bet on the body temperature.
Ben Kalin, of course, has to have his own followers. He has two only followers, and that's Isaac Hayes as kind of a preacher, a priest.
Isaac Hayes, he's more of a preacher in training.
Okay.
Who's the other guy?
It was Erwin Keyes as Deke.
Erwin Keyes as Deke. He's the altar boy because he sits on Callan's knee
He
at one
does. That
point
was a
in the
weird
film.
scene.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, come sit on my knee, just like old times. Come on. Sit down. Now, you just listen to me, you see. First of all, you touch me to the depths of my soul.
It makes sense that Erwin Keyes would be there as kind of the muscle, and then Isaac Hayes as Aloysius kind of basically, reads them the Bible, tells them, your soul will be saved if you ask for forgiveness.
You killed an innocent girl. And the only way you can pay for something that bad is by dying yourself. But you're a lucky man.
Lucky? Why?
'Cause you get to die in the chair.
After we see someone executed on this death row, and we see a impassioned speech from Ben Kalen about this man is, paying for his crimes, and he asked for God's forgiveness in his last moments, so hopefully he's going to heaven, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And then I believe we go to a kind of high class party, right?
Yes. We're introduced to Stanford, Congressman Stanford.
Don't worry, you can trust Mark.
Yeah, tell him about the.
Okay. Remember when those people filed a suit against my building because, their kids were eating...
lead paint.
Yeah, lead paint off the walls, right? Okay. Mark makes one telephone call, and the whole case is thrown out of court.
And right off the bat, you can tell he's of the sleazy variety.
Oh yeah.
And so
I was thinking slimy. Slimy was the adjective. Slimy, sleazy, both.
So he's talking to some other slimy politicians / backers, but then boom, we get
Lauren Hutton.
Oh,
Lauren Hutton as Liz, right?
As Liz, in a knockout dress.
Mm-hmm.
Always with a very long, cigarette holder, and smoking it.
Surely you jest. I'm surprised at you, Mr. Connor. I always thought you were such a bright man. The type who knew a bargain when he saw one. How can you pass up the chance to buy your very own governor at Kmart prices?
Funny, darling.
I love how much her and her husband absolutely hate each other, with a passion
throughout the movie.
There's a power struggle between them, but it kind of seems like Liz is the one in charge.
Oh yeah, we see those two at home. We see Stanford and Liz at home, and what I was expecting was for Stanford to be like, "Good job, honey. Thank you so much." But what actually happens is Stanford's pissed. He's mad at her, and he's basically like, "You don't ever shut the fuck up."
Shut up, Liz. Just shut up, will you? You just yacked all night. You never shut up. How about that Kmart ad lib? That wasn't what we rehearsed. I think you hit an all-time low tonight in bad taste.
It's like, yeah, she just made you another 250 grand. What's your problem? And then you start to see that Liz has something on Stanford, and it is pretty substantial. It's only alluded to at first, but we find out pretty quickly that Stanford is a real scumbag.
He was having an affair, and the long and short of it is he ends up murdering his mistress because she knows about his political corruption.
Mm-hmm.
And then now his wife knows about his tendency to murder.
He not only murders his secretary, maybe.
I think it was his secretary and mistress. Yeah, but also
he murders her, and then first he has an argument with her. She runs off, and then he sees her getting held up by Michael Beach playing Hamilton, who's, down on his luck, criminal type, pulls a gun on her, is like, just give me what you got in your wallet or in your purse, and he seizes his opportunity. He knocks out Hamilton, takes the gun, blows his mistress away. And for some reason, he tells his wife,
Thank you
You're welcome.
for making my life a living hell! You faceless, lying fucking coward! This doesn't change anything! Bastard!
Maybe this will.
we even at the party, we see what a real piece of work Stanford is, because one of Stanford's aides brings up this, bright, up-and-coming supporter of his, played by a very young Heather Graham.
Champagne, Kimberly?
Thank you.
So, beauty and brains, huh?
Her character was so interesting. Not a very, not a powerful female character, but
she was very gullible and pulled into. She basically mirrored like whoever she was around. She was. Anybody shows her a different point of view, and she's all gung ho about it.
Which
they make it very clear.
I really love how the movie did that and showed us her character within, a minute scene.
Now, do you think that a U.S. congressman would lie?
That is your problem, Kim. Whenever you meet somebody new, you think that you have found your new mission in life. Like the time that you started dating a New Age guy and you thought you could channel a 17th century Irishman? Or how about the time that you went out with the Marxists and you flew to Germany to put the Berlin Wall back up? And now you're working for a fascist who's practically ready to open up a concentration camp.
She comes up to Stanford and she's like, hey, I want to be a part of this. I like your policies. I like this and that, which, already his policies were like bad.
Yeah.
See, guys, this is what I'm talking about. This young lady represents the bureaucracy that we're running against. But even so, she still agrees with my anti-crime campaign. Right, Kimberly?
Absolutely, sir.
After that, I think there's a lot of scenes with Rod Steiger as Kalen just kind of explaining what he does and talking to the prisoners, talking to his underlings or his people. And
there's Aloysius is always talking about how they're going to have a wonderful last meal, and it's either like McDonald's or KFC or Burger King. Like, just he really likes to give them fast food for their last meal.
He's like, I have a wonderful meal picked out for you. It's going to be a Big Mac,
fries, and a chocolate shake. I don't want to die.
I think at this point, let's talk a little bit about Kimberly and her work with, was it Billy? What's his name? Billy?
I think it's Billy Sparrow.
Yeah, Billy Sparrow. Poor young gentleman who's on parole. Kimberly is his parole officer.
Yeah.
And she's just trying to help him out, and he just wants a date. He thinks it's appropriate to ask his parole officer out to dance, and while she declines,
very respectful. Everything in that meeting was very respectful. I was like, okay, this guy seems all right. He's trying to stick on the right path. Some things he said were a little questionable, but you're trying to find a job. Why don't you just look a little harder? I want you to at least apply to like 10 jobs, and then when you come back, we'll talk a little bit more. But this is also throughout the movie, she is investigating the fact that murderers who have been released are disappearing. That's why her character is so dynamic, where she will fall for everything, but she's also very interested in what's happening.
Of course, you have to get elected. I'll do anything I can to help you. I don't know. I had this idea. I found out that all these ex-convicts have been disappearing, and I thought that if that if I could discover who was doing this and that you could expose it, it would show people that you really care about all our citizens.
That is a great idea. That's a wonderful idea.
I don't know.
I knew you were bright, but I didn't know you were brilliant.
So Kimberly decides she wants to become a bit of a detective, and
Yeah.
Stanford encourages her to look into
Oh,
all
yeah.
of these missing parolees, and she that eventually leads her to Billy's apartment.
And she knocks on his door, and he is like, I think he's like dividing up cocaine.
Yeah, I think he's weighing it, he's measuring it out, and it looks like she wanted him to get a job, and I think he found his own kind of job,
Yeah.
his own source of money.
Also, his apartment looks like shit.
Who is it?
So she comes in and she's like, hey, this is happening. I think you're in trouble. I think that you might be next as far as being abducted and disappearing.
Now, they all serve time for murder like you. So I think who's ever doing this will come after you too. Now, if we work together, we can find out who's doing this, and I can turn the information over to Mark Stanford. I know he'll pay you for your help.
As soon as she steps in, he instantly pivots, shuts the door, and locks it. And no things are not going to be going very well from there on out. But
he immediately attacks her, starts like, you can't just come in here shaking your tits around and pretending like you don't want this or whatever, and immediately jumps on her. But that does not last long at all, because Kaylin bursts through the window like a superhero.
Who the fuck are you?
Justice.
I was going to say, I'm glad you brought that up earlier, the soundtrack sounding like a superhero soundtrack, because this 100% felt like a deleted scene from Darkman or something.
Yes.
It's also up on like the 4th floor or something.
Where did he come from?
Yeah, he just crashes through the window. Like, okay. That was the point where I was like, wait, is this guy the hero? He's the protagonist, not the antagonist.
Because the film is making him look pretty cool. So he jumps in, he zaps Sparrow with his little zapper that he carries with him everywhere. Bzz. And he knocks him out, and then Heather Graham is all shook up from everything that's happened, and she's like, you're him, aren't you? You're the guy that's been, abducting these guys that have gotten away. And then we kind of get a connection between Kaylin and Kimberly, because of course Kimberly is just kind of, whatever person is telling her this is what's right, this is what's going on. She's like, you know what, you're right.
Full 180 moment where she's like dedicated all of her time to catching this guy, and then as soon as she does, she's like, I think you're onto something.
Yeah, okay. He wants her to witness the death of Sparrow because Billy doesn't have any family or anything.
He coerces her because he
really
says
does.
in order for him to be forgiven and freed, the person a family member, a survivor of the person that he wronged needs to be present.
Yes.
To witness his death.
So that they can ask for forgiveness.
And then Kimberly has the idea like, well, he wronged me and I'm here right now.
So she gets into it, and they end up executing Billy pretty quickly, almost right away. We go back to Hamilton, who has just escaped from prison with some psychopath, and they're driving out with this cop that they've or a prison guard, whatever,
Yeah,
that
prison
they've
guard.
kidnapped. The other guy, not Hamilton, is like, I'm going to kill this cop. I'm going to execute him right here. And Hamilton wrestles the gun away from him. He's like, no, screw that. You get out of here. Um, this guy probably has a family. Let's let him go. Basically convinces the guy to take off, and he lets the prison guard go, and then he's on the run. Of course, the first fucking person he runs up to and is like, "Hey, can I get a ride?" is Kalen, who's just out looking for him, apparently.
Hey! Hey!
Hey, mister, can you give me a ride, please?
My pleasure. Zelda Rubinstein plays the maid of Stanford.
Oh yeah.
So Zelda Rubinstein, a lot of people know her most from Poltergeist as Caroline. In this, she just plays a maid, and she overhears Liz and Stanford talking, and Stanford basically admits to killing his secretary. And because Liz is constantly giving him shit about it, and he's just like, "Shut up! Shut up! Shut your fucking mouth!" And at one point, he's just like, "I don't give a shit if I killed her. I know I killed her." And that's when Edna, Zelda Rubinstein, starts recording.
So I killed Fran. So what? Big fucking deal. She's dead. What do you want me to do? Give up my own life?
Why don't you admit it, Liz? Why don't you admit it? You're just a big bluff. That's what you are. You want me to be elected just as much as I do, so you can share in the power and the prestige of the governor's office. Why don't you admit it? Because if you thought I did anything so terrible, you would have done something about it. But you didn't do anything, and you're not going to do anything. And you know why, Liz? Because you got no guts. Now shut up. Just shut up.
God, I hate you.
Just shut up.
We see Callan go visit Stanford at his office.
Yes.
Because he wants to make a sizable donation.
Yes.
Which is a complete 180 from his previous stance, because he was previously asked to make a donation under the table. And of course, Callan, being the moral man that he is, he's like, "Can't do that. That's illegal."
Mm-hmm.
Well, then he decides to come to Stanford's office, talks with him, and mentions, that's illegal. I was against it, but I hear your views on the death penalty. You're very pro death penalty. I like that. So it made me reconsider. But in order to secure the donation, Callan just comes right out and confesses that he kills people in his basement.
And Stanford's like, "Okay, you can get out of my office now." But then, Callan is like, "But I have Hamilton, and I'm pretty sure you'd like. I want you there to watch his execution." And then Stanford's like, "Oh, yes, I would be very interested in that. I would love to see him get killed, and then I'm in the fucking clear, and I don't have to worry about it." I don't want to say what happens.
You don't. Okay.
Because it is a mind boggler.
It is a shocker.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
It is. It comes out of nowhere. Is all I can say. What I do want to say is that the epilogue, I guess you could say, is kind of like, I don't know. I wouldn't say disappointing. I would just say confusing. But the whole movie's pretty confusing as far as what it's going for, what it's trying to say, how everything is presented. And this is making me sound like I don't like this movie. I really, really like this movie. I thought it was so far one of the best that we've watched. As far as just being really dynamic in it, and just being like an original, interesting idea.
Yeah, I would say the thing that gets a little confusing sometimes, or you know how you normally have, like, might have to have a suspension of disbelief as to what's going on.
Yeah.
With this film, you have to have a pretty liberal suspension of disbelief as to the characters' motives.
Yes.
They change their motives quite a bit and change their stances quite a bit.
I think that's as much as we can say without really giving up the plot or giving up the ghost, as they say. But
I don't know if that's the right term.
No, it wasn't.
Proper use of that term, but
You're running for governor. How can you just stand by and let him kill innocent peoples?
I've never killed an innocent man in my life. Every man I killed was a murderer.
But I'm not a murderer. Silence!
So overall, what would you say? How do you feel about this film?
I definitely enjoyed it. Like you, I was perplexed quite often throughout the film. I think this is probably, out of all the ones we've watched so far, this is probably the one I would be most apt to show somebody, or like
Yeah.
maybe watch again, just because of how bonkers it is, and just ping pongs from this to that.
You don't have the balls to hit me. Why, I am surprised.
Safe to say a lot of the IRS films are a little bit middle of the road, but also a charming middle of the road. And I feel like
Yes.
this one actually starts to kind of build up to a little bit above middle of the road. Like,
Sure.
I think it sneaks up there. Maybe I would give this one like a 3.0. Maybe if I'm under the influence, maybe a 3.5.
It was wholly original as far as just I've never been, jostled around as much in a movie where at one point it's a superhero film with the music and the themes of vigilante justice. Um, but it's kind of dissecting those kind of movies in a very subtle way. It's the movie's trying to talk about the death penalty and the morality of that. It's trying to talk about vigilante justice and the morality of that. It's talking about what is right, what is wrong. It's talking about religion in a sense,
Mhm.
but it never really cements its views on any of it
Mm-mm.
and keeps it very vague. Because, like you said, this could be a pro death penalty movie, it could be an anti death penalty movie. So the connection to IRS records was really none. There really wasn't any IRS music in the movie. There was an incredible score. Kevin Tent, I guess, did the music. I've never heard of him. He did a great job.
I did forget about the very, very end. I don't want to say exactly what happens, but the final 5 seconds of the film do end with breaking of the fourth wall and a
Oh,
wink at
yeah.
the camera. So I do have to adjust my score down to like a 2.5, maybe a 3 if I'm under the influence.
But this
Because
this is out of 5, though, right?
out of 5. So
Okay.
yeah,
All
like
right. Okay.
for fun.
I'll accept
And
that.
2.5 isn't bad.
No.
Like for me, that means I enjoyed it.
No one's perfect. Are they?
It wasn't jazzy. The last couple of movies have been a little jazz heavy. This one was very kind of, like I said, superhero-ish tone. A lot of like overhead sweeping shots,
Hmm.
which there was great cinematography in this movie. And what I read was Sam Irvin was Brian De Palma's production assistant,
Yes.
which is pretty wild. He hasn't done a lot of theatrical films since then. He's kind of done a lot of like Hallmark, Lifetime Christmas movies, kind of.
Okay,
But
I can
that's
see that.
fine. He did great in this movie. He was a great choice. He did his job, and
You know what, man? I was gonna say Lifetime has some of the best exploitation movies. Some real.
you're right.
Honestly, I feel like they have the sleeper hits when it comes to exploitation. You don't expect it, but you can
You're
find
kind
some
of
good
right.
ones.
I honestly think like real, if you're looking for real exploitation now, you just need to go to the Lifetime Network. I really enjoyed watching this. I would recommend it. Check it out on YouTube. Check it out. It was on Tubi for a while, but I think they took it off there. Check it out on Prime for 99 cents. I think I got this tape for $3. So maybe you can too. There is actually a poster for this film on eBay for $2.95 if you want the poster. Uh, yeah, great cast, great film.
You have to understand something. We live in very dangerous times, and the only thing that separates us from being barbarians is the law.
Thank you again so much for joining us for yet another The Films of IRS Media. Come back for the next one. I
Oh,
believe
definitely.
the next one is going to be Blood and Concrete, starring Billy Zane.
Ooh.
Yeah.